United Nations AIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima has joined the chorus that Zimbabwe's economy is being affected by sanctions at a time government has been bullish about economic growth. Byanyima spoke to the media as she was paying a courtesy call to President Mnangagwa at the State House as part of the ongoing ICASA conference being hosted in Zimbabwe.
Discussed also other issues of the economy because the economy is in trouble because of the sanctions. These sanctions, I believe, are sanctions from the past and should be removed. He informed me that the European Union has removed most of the sanctions, but there are still sanctions from the American government. I think these sanctions should be removed so that Zimbabwe can access and borrow money to fight other diseases, to put in the education, to put in infrastructure. Zimbabwe's access to financing, external financing, credit markets is limited because of those sanctions. So we discussed, and I said I will also be speaking wherever I am on the wisdom of allowing Zimbabwe to manage its development without those sanctions.
Regardless of the economic challenges, the UN believes Zimbabwe has been doing very well in responding to the HIV and AIDS pandemic. Government, with funding from the AIDS levy and other funding partners, managed to put men on earth.
Zimbabwe is one of the countries that are fastest moving to reduce new infections and deaths and to achieve the mid-term targets of 2025. Zimbabwe has achieved them 3 years before. So Zimbabwe is one of the most successful countries in fighting AIDS, and that's because there's a leadership that's pushing for the right policies. There are communities, leaders at the base who work freely with the government, so there's a good partnership between government and communities, and also there's strong support from the donors who complement what the government puts down financially with their own resources. Close to $500 million every year come from PEPFAR, the Global Fund.
Speaking to the media, Byanyima spoke about the discussion she had with President Mnangagwa.
We talked also about the industrialization and the production, local production of medicines. We need countries like Zimbabwe, which have a good industrial base, South Africa and others, to start manufacturing all the medicines we need on this continent. We cannot keep buying from abroad and be able to afford for our people. And when the next pandemic comes, we don't want to be treated like we were treated in COVID, where the supply was small and Africa was put at the back of the queue. Even with our own money, we had no medicines to buy, no vaccines to buy. We don't want to be there. So we talked about local production.
This comes after Zimbabwe is hosting this year's International Conference AIDS and STIs Africa. It is crucial for Zimbabwe to expand its local production on medicine, not only for its people but for the African continent as a whole. Reporting for HSTV News, Kelly Mabaire, State House.